And welcome to the Jett Turner pregame show. We're joined by Broome head football coach Jett Turner. Well, first of all, Coach, congratulations on a very impressive win over Chesney to start the season.
Thank you, sir. It was a big win for us, a good come-from-behind win. Didn't start out real well, but I was proud of the way we came back and beat a good football team.
And I tell you what, people don't realize that was two teams that were conference champions last year, that both went to the playoffs, that both returned very good football teams. It was two excellent teams, and I guess that's got to give your team a lot of confidence when you can beat a team like that.
Certainly. I mean, you know, Chesney's, they're a good football team, and they came out on fire, and I hope our kids kind of got a little confidence and realized, you know, we can compete with some good football teams, and got a long way to go, but it was a good win.
And I guess it's got to be good too. I know you had a lot of distractions last week. The weather was a distraction in that you had to move the kickoff back 30 minutes and all, and you were able to overcome those things too. You mentioned too about, you know, I know you had a concern about getting the players on the field too early with the heat though, but you know, just talk about some of the things like that heat related that you were faced with.
Well, yeah, the heat was an issue, and we decided not to bring our kids out to warm up, keep them in the gym where it was cooler and do our warming up in there. And so the first time they walked down, it was probably 7:50, 10 minutes before kickoff. Probably, you know, made us a little flat, but what can you do? One way or the other, you know, you're going to try to either you keep them out there, they get too hot. So we just rolled the dice and said we're going to keep them cool for as long as we can, because it doesn't matter how good a shape you're in. When those cramps hit, you know, they're coming and there's nothing you can do about it. So in the end, I felt like it helped us, but we certainly came out flat, and that may have something to do with it.
Let's talk a little bit too about you going into the game too. You had a young man that had never started a varsity game before, sophomore quarterback though, but really played well in his first start, managed the game well for you. What were your thoughts on that?
No, I couldn't have been happier. Jake's a super kid and had a great game, did a good job running the offense, put his foot in the ground, got north and south and got us some big runs, read the option well, threw the ball well, through 3 really good passes that our kids made great catches on. So you know, real excited for him because what a good game he had, but also for our team, and quality kid, and nobody outworks him, so it couldn't happen to a better kid.
Needless to say, you have to be pleased with the production out of the running back spot right there. Talk a little bit about Anderson's performance, probably a school setting performance that he had.
Yeah, and for me personally, I've coached 20 years. I've never had a back rush for 325 yards. And it wasn't a situation where you're beating a team bad and you're padding the stats to get him a certain amount of yards. He earned every one of them in a tight ball game against a good football team. So he's a special player, and he's got a different gear that when he gets it, there's not too many that can catch him. And he just played really well, competed hard, fought through some minor injuries, and so just real proud of him. And you know, he's a special player, and I think we haven't seen the best of him yet.
One thing I was really impressed in his game too, we know his breakaway speed, but one of his touchdown runs, it looked like they had him hemmed in on the sidelines. Great vision, cuts back, made a great move, gets back, cuts back up the middle, and was able to take it to the house.
And you're exactly right. He's got great vision, and he has gotten better and better at that, seeing the field, understanding where the blocks are coming from, you know, where to look for a cutback lane. And yeah, he set up his blocks well on that, and just looks like he's getting better and better. He's really hasn't ran the ball a ton for us. I mean, he's 1,000 yards last year, but we also had another 1,000-yard back. So you know, this year he's looking to get a few more carries.
And again, he's not the Lone Ranger back there. That you've got our new celebrity back there, Action Jackson, back there, who gives you another back that's got breakaway speed. And then you've got the big man back there, our favorite, Ribs Jeter.
That's right.
The big back there. So you have a variety of backs, and I think you mentioned you've got some others that can step in and play too.
Certainly. We feel like, you know, we've got several kids that can run the football. You know, you mentioned Travis Jeter, DeMarco Jackson. I think you know, he has to play so much defense, but he's explosive with the ball in his hands, and I think as it cools off a little bit and we can get him, you know, going a little more both sides of the ball, you'll see he's a special player too. You got Travis Jeter, you got Bakeem Martin, you got C.J. Mathis, who'll be back next week. We got some kids that can run the football, and so that only helps us, and hopefully we get all those guys going at the same time, and that'll definitely make us a better offensive football team.
Chesney came out and threw the ball exceptionally well. They have got a very potent offense right there. But I know you had to be pleased too that there were times that your defense was bent a little bit, but were able to not break and come up with some stops when you had to.
Certainly, we were starting 3 people in the secondary that had never played any of those positions, and that's tough against a team like that. And so even though like our corner was an outside linebacker last year, our free safety was an inside linebacker last year, our other corner was in middle school last year. So that's a huge challenge, and so I was proud of them. They took it to us early, but our kids responded, and then they could have gone the other way, but they stood up and competed, and I was very proud of that.
Had to be nice too having a veteran kicker back too, because that field goal late in the game that made it a 2-possession game really broke Chesney's back when you were able to add that on the board.
No, it was huge. Maru Garcia, he did a great job with kickoffs, all night, and then after the first miss on the PAT, he was steady, and then that field goal, he knocked it through, and that was huge. That gave us a 2-score lead with very little time left, and they'd used their timeout, so we know at that point you're feeling pretty good.
Tied at the half, 21-all. You get the ball the first possession of the second half, are able to take it down, get that first drive, and it was keep away time then. I would probably, if I was a betting man, bet they probably didn't have the ball more than 4 or 5 minutes in the second half, and probably only had maybe 3 possessions at the most.
Well, you're right, and I think a large part of that was our guys. That's what we want to do is shrink the game, and once we got the lead, it wasn't like we were going to turn down a long touchdown run, but what we wanted was a sustained drives, and our guys did a good job of doing that. And again, just competing every snap, and just putting the pressure on them, shrinking the game every time they got less and less time to come back. So they did a good job.
I know that first game, you're always anxious to play that first game because you answer a lot of questions. What questions, I guess, did you get answered in week 1, and what were the things you were most probably impressed with or pleased with?
Well, I felt like the quarterback position answered a lot of questions. I felt like just his ability. You knew he's a heck of a football player, and he's going to be good, but he's young, and you never know until you roll him out there. I felt like our offensive line, showed that they will be able to compete against some guys. Defensively, I really felt good about Xavier King and some guys that stepped up, and this was going to be their year. They were going to step up. So I think we're off to a good start. You got to prove yourself every Friday night, but I think that game kind of showed us we had some guys that can, with some courage and some character, that can do some stuff for us.
I know it had to be pleasing for you too. That was a hot game playing. First of all, it was a very chippy game with a rival that I know that Chesney had over 100 yards in personal foul and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, but your guys were able to keep their cool the whole game.
I was very, very proud of us keeping our composure, and that's a credit to our kids. We talk about that, and don't do anything to hurt the team in that situation, and so just our guys did a good job of keeping their composure.
It's been said over and over again, it may even possibly be a myth, but it's been said over and over again. Lots of times teams make their biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2. Well, what have you seen this week in practice?
Well, I hope that's true. That would be good. But I saw a team, it took us a little while during the week to get refocused, but once we did, as the week progressed, we had better practices. You hope your kids learn how to handle success, and that's always an issue with every team. If you have a little success, are you going to continue to work, continue to do things you need to do? And I saw that we were doing that this week, and that was a good thing. So, it remains to be seen how we play, but I'm pleased with what I've seen so far.
Week 2, big test, perennial power Woodruff. You've got to go down to their house there. Man, last year's game was a great high school football game. If you want to see 2 phases of the game, one by land, one by sea, or by air, you got to see it like that. What do you anticipate in week 2 going to Woodruff?
I anticipate a huge crowd. I anticipate a electric atmosphere. And after that, you don't really know. You know, like I said, I wouldn't have thought it would be 51-48 last year. We were similar to the Chesney game this year. We got behind 14-0 and then came back. But with that kind of game and those kind of motions, you don't know. You know that if you don't give up big plays and you don't lay the football on the ground and you don't have penalties, we're going to have a chance. But I couldn't tell you what type of game it's going to be.
Woodruff comes in with a new coach. But basically, out of that same Burns system, do you anticipate seeing much difference in the way they're going to do things as compared to what you've seen in the past?
I'm sure that they'll put their stamp on it, the new stamp, but it's going to be similar, the same schemes, you know, same things, and they do a great job. And that Burns group, you know, they've got a system and they've been doing it, and they do a great job. So, you know, they'll be really good at it, and they've got good athletes to execute it, and we know it'll be a tough challenge.
I don't think they played last week. They were a jamboree last week, though. Do you think that, you know, how big you've been in both cases, opening up early and doing that, though? Do you think your kids will have an advantage of playing 4 quarters under the lights, whereas they were basically playing 2 under the lights?
You hope you would, but again, it's a base by base, kid by kid. You know, you would hope you have a little advantage there and have some of those first game jitters out of the way. They've got a veteran quarterback who can probably settle a lot of their guys down. Defensively, they got a veteran nose guard who's going to settle those guys down. So, you know, you never know, but you hope it would be our advantage.
Other than your quarterback, was there any other kid on your team that really caught your eye, you know, in the season opener?
As far as, I thought Zach Long, a tight end, played extremely well, blocking and just gave great effort. You know, I thought Bobby Jackson, who probably wouldn't be a surprise, but I was just impressed with how he got around the football, how he led. He was a good leader on the field, and so those two kind of jump out. I think Malachi Farmer had 4 plays off the whole night, played the entire night in that heat with 4 plays. I mean, that's a gutsy performance, and played really well. And then Xavier was our defensive player of the game, a cornerback, made a great pick. He played pretty well. I thought Travis Jeter had a good game inside linebacker. Several kids that made plays that was a big factor in the game, but those are the ones that just kind of jumped out at me.
Temperatures are not going to be quite as hot as last week, but it's going to be another hot one, though. Again, you know, depth factor. Do you feel like you were able to develop some depth this past Friday night?
We're going to need to, and we'll find out, because we are. You know, when it's hot like that, they just start dropping, you know, with cramps and need rest. So we've got a couple of guys that we think we've added to the rotation. We hope that on the offensive and defensive lines they can step up and play. So it'll be a big test for those guys, but I'm excited to see how they'll respond. What do you see as being the keys to tonight's ball game? Oh, again, I think from a defensive standpoint, we got to make them drive the football and you know, eliminate big plays. And if we can do that, we'll have a shot defensively. And then offensively, if we hang on to the football, get in the right play call and execute up front, then again, 4 quarter rolls around, we should have a chance. Well, good luck tonight, and we look forward to visiting with you again next week to recap what takes place. Thank you. Thank you.